In this video, we will discuss the recent shootings that have occurred this week involving so-called African American men who were all carrying weapons, either openly or concealed. But first, we must begin with a ruling in California courts that occurred earlier last month. June 9th, 2016, a California court rules that the Second Amendment does not guarantee a right to carry concealed weapons.
New at 10, the concealed carry debate is back. The federal appeals court today ruled that people do not have a right to carry concealed weapons in public under the Second Amendment. The court upheld a California law. That law requires gun owners to show a good reason before they can get a license to carry.
This notion of a conspiracy out there, and it gets wrapped up in concerns about the federal government. Now, there's a long history of that. That's in our DNA. The United States was born suspicious of some distant authority.
But let me just jump in. Is it fair to call it a conspiracy? I mean, well, there's a lot of people really believe this deeply, that they just don't. No. They just don't trust you.
I'm sorry, Cooper. Yes, it is fair to call it a conspiracy. What are you saying? Are you suggesting that the notion that we are creating a plot to take everybody's guns away so that we can impose martial law
but certainly
is a conspiracy? Yes, that is a conspiracy. I would hope that you would agree with that. Is that controversial? Except on some websites around the country?
There are certainly.
If we really want to help law enforcement protect Americans from homegrown extremists, the kind of tragedies that occurred at San Bernardino and that now have occurred in Orlando, there is a meaningful way to do that. We have to make it harder for people who want to kill Americans to get their hands on weapons of war that let them kill dozens of innocents. Reinstate the assault weapons ban.
Reinstate the assault weapons ban.
Is it fair to call it a conspiracy? I mean, there's a lot of people really believe this deeply, that they just don't.
No.
They just don't trust you.
I'm sorry, Cooper. Yes, it is fair to call it a conspiracy. What are you saying?
I was born in Austria, and I lived there 7 years under Hitler's brutal regime. And after World War II, 3 years under Soviet communist occupation. In 1938, the media reported that Hitler rolled into Austria with tanks and guns and took us over. Not true at all. The Austrian people elected Hitler by 98% of the vote by means of the ballot box. Now, you might ask, how could a Christian nation, almost 100% Catholic, to elect a monster like Hitler? The truth is, at the beginning, Hitler didn't look like or talk like a monster at all. He talked like an American politician. We also had gun registration. Oh, the Austrian people they all had guns. But the government said the guns are very dangerous. Children are playing with guns, hunting accidents happen, and we really have to have total control, safety. And we had criminals again. And the only way that we can trace the criminal was by the serial number of the gun. So we dutifully went to the police station and we registered our guns. Not long after, they said, no, it didn't help. The only way that we don't have accidents and crimes, you bring the guns to the police station and then we don't have any crimes anymore and any accidents. And if you don't do that, capital punishment. So that's what we did. So dictatorship didn't happen overnight. It took 5 years, gradually, little by little, to escalate up to a dictatorship. When the people fear the government, that's tyranny. But when the government fears the people, that's you. That's liberty. Keep your guns. Keep your guns and buy more guns.
I am in my second term. It has been an extraordinary privilege for me to serve as the President of the United States. I cannot imagine a greater honor or a more interesting job. I love my work. But under our Constitution, I cannot run again. I can't run again. I actually think I'm a pretty good president. I think if I ran, I could win. But I can't. So there's a lot that I'd like to do to keep America moving, but the law is the law. The nonstop focus on billionaire donors creates real problems for our democracy.
And that's why we're running for a third term.
No, we're not.
We're not?
No.
Who the hell said that?
Good evening, everybody. It is an honor to be here at my last, and perhaps the last, White House Correspondents' Day. You all look great. The end of the Republic has never looked better.
You said recently that you thought that there might not actually be elections in 2016 because of widespread anarchy. Do you really believe that?
Well, I hope that that's not going to be the case, but certainly there is the potential. And unless we begin to deal with these things in a comprehensive way and in a logical way, there is no telling what could happen.
I presented these clips first because it is important that we understand the proper context in which the orchestrated shootings that have taken place this week occurred. America, as we know it, is no more. It is a distant memory. Instead of a nation governed by the rule of law, this nation is now purposefully being pushed by its rulers into chaos and anarchy, until finally it will eventually collapse into ruin, and from its ruinous ashes will rise the one world government and its ruler, the Antichrist. July 5th, 2016, Alton Sterling was shot and killed by police in front of the SSS Food Mart in Baton Rouge. Police claim a homeless man reportedly called 911 after Sterling showed him his gun.
We begin tonight with the growing outrage after a deadly police shooting, the images now seen by millions across this country. And tonight, a new video has now emerged. Police officers in Baton Rouge answering a call that a man was allegedly waving a gun.
Tonight, new chilling images of that deadly shooting captured on cell phone outside a Baton Rouge convenience store.
Alton Sterling was shot 6 times at the SSS Food Mart. SSS, or S, would be the sound a serpent makes when hissing, and it is also symbolic of 666. Alton means an old settlement or wellspring and source of an encampment. An encampment is a temporary living quarters or a tent. The human body can be viewed as a tent or encampment for the spirit or soul, even for demonic possession. Sterling means made of silver. This is a reference to the pagan god Mercury, the guide of souls to the underworld. His name is related to merchant and the sale of merchandise, which is connected to the fact that Alton Sterling was selling CDs when he was killed. Remember, 2 years ago, I showed you Michelle Obama wearing a silver dress with an M on it at the Oscars when she announced Argo as the winner.
And the Oscar goes to Argo.
Argo comes from ardent, which means silver, and is a reference to the pagan god Mercury. Mercury is the god of boundaries, thieves, and trickery. Sterling was killed in Baton Rouge. Baton Rouge means red pole because there was a red painted pole placed on its site by the Native Americans to mark the boundary line or a division between two nations. Therefore, we can conclude that this incident was a planned execution put in motion by the spirit of Antichrist or Mercury in an effort to steal from you, to trick you, and to divide the nation. Notice Alton Sterling is also lying in front of a silver Toyota Camry at the time he is murdered at the SSS food store. This is not by coincidence. Camry means crown, and the symbol for Camry is the all-seeing eye of horrors, connecting this sacrifice to 666 being crowned. The name Sterling also comes from star. We know that stars represent angels in Scripture. See Isaiah 14:12 or Revelation 9:1. Star comes from stater, which means to cause to stand, which comes from stet, a place where one stands, or a pedestal for idols. Therefore, the name Alton Sterling, SSS, and Camry is as follows. The serpent has an old settlement. He is the wellspring or source for a human body. Mercury, the pagan god, 666, the all-seeing eye of horrors, is crowned or set upon his throne. The fallen angel has been caused to stand in a place which is a pedestal for idols. These violent encounters are nothing more than synchronized, choreographed, staged, and managed events meant to disrupt and unsettle the public, to undermine any remaining vestige of trust or cooperation that might have existed between law enforcement and the community state police. In spite of the emotional traumas already inflicted upon the so-called minority community, still reeling from the recent epidemic of young black males being slaughtered by white cops. The ultimate effect of incidents such as these will be the eventual destabilization of the country through senseless violence and engineered emotional and psychological manipulation of the masses through lies and propaganda disseminated by government-controlled media. Let's take a deeper look at this senseless violence, emotional manipulation, and their lies and propaganda. July 6, 2016, Philando Castile is shot by police in a traffic stop after he notified the officer that he was legally carrying a concealed weapon.
Stay with me. We got pulled over for a busted tail light in the back. And the police he's covered. He ain't killed my friend. He's licensed, he's licensed to carry. He was trying to get out his ID and his wallet out his pocket, and he let the officer know that he had a firearm and he was reaching for his wallet, and the officer just shot him in his arm.
I told him not to reach for it. I told him to get his hand out.
You told him to get his ID, sir, and his driver's license. Please don't tell me this, Lord. Please, Jesus, don't tell me that he's gone. Please don't tell me that he's gone. Please, officer, don't tell me that you just did this to him.
Philando comes from philandros, which means lover of men. A man who is a lover of men is a homosexual.
I did not have a chance to comment on how good the White House looked in rainbow colors.
This connects Philando's shooting to the Orlando shooting at the gay nightclub Pulse. Both of these events are connected to the push for gun control or gun confiscation.
Commissioner asks the following questions. How many more mass killings of school children, of co-workers, of African-American churchgoers? How many more individual shootings of talented musicians like Christina Grimmie, who was shot last weekend, or politicians like Gabrielle Giffords, will it take before the United States adopts robust gun regulation? Why should any civilian anywhere be able to acquire an assault rifle or other high-powered weapons designed to kill lots of people?
Castile means castle, citadel, or stronghold. Remember this, because we will come back to this definition in a moment. This shooting occurred in Minnesota, in Falcon Heights, on Fry and Larpenteur. Minnesota connects back to the purple horned Vikings and the horned god of Norse mythology. This also connects to the recent death of Prince, the color purple, which is symbolic for the age of Antichrist, and purple rain, which I told you previously means chaos and insanity reigns. Falcon Heights is a reference to Horus, the sun god, who is depicted as a falcon. This is telling us that the sun god, or Antichrist, is soaring to the pinnacle, the climax, or most intense culmination of events, which indicates that there is something imminent about to occur just over the horizon. Fry means to cook, to manipulate, to dishonestly alter or falsify something. The word Larpenteur is made up of larpen plus tour. Larpen means to thrash, assault, or attack. The suffix tour is used to denote the performance of an action. Therefore, Larpenteur would mean one who thrashes or attacks another. It should be noted that the word LARP means live action role play, which is a form of role-playing game where participants physically act out their characters' actions in the real world while interacting with each other in character. This points to the distinct possibility that this incident, as well as all the other incidents, were live action role-play exercise meant to manipulate the public by exciting your emotions. This also connects back to Ayesha Curry and Donald Trump, both of whom recently told us that the system or game is rigged.
She's watching it and she tweets out this. I've lost all respect. Sorry, this is absolutely rigged for money or ratings. I'm not sure which. I won't be silent. Just saw it live. Sorry.
Today is the best evidence ever that we've seen that our system is absolutely, totally rigged.
Stay with me. We got pulled over for a busted tail light in the back. And the police just, he's covered. He killed my friend. He's licensed, he's licensed to carry. He was trying to get out his ID and his wallet out his pocket, and he let the officer know that he had a firearm and he was reaching for his wallet, and the officer just shot him in his arm.
I told him not to reach for it. I told him to get his hand out.
You told him to get his ID, sir, and his driver's license. Please don't tell me this, Lord. Please, Jesus, don't tell me that he's gone. Please don't tell me that he's gone. Please, officer, don't tell me that you just did this to him.
It appears that the video taken by Philando's girlfriend was choreographed so that it could be used to inflame emotions and cause outrage in the so-called minority community in hopes that it would lead to widespread riots, chaos, and anarchy. Philando would have turned 33 on July 8th, 2016. The number 33 connects him to the Masonic 33rd degree, Ordo ab Chao, or order out of chaos. The creation of chaos and anarchy across the nation is exactly what the puppet masters behind the scenes want, because it would provide a pretext for gun confiscation and the institution of martial law. As a result, it would also subsequently provide a reasoning for suspending the 2016 elections. There are more reasons which make it appear that this incident was orchestrated, and we will discuss them here. In a photo after the incident, Philando Castile's girlfriend is wearing a t-shirt with Elsa from the movie Frozen on front. Elsa was a practitioner of magic in Disney's movie Frozen. Elsa is a figure loosely based upon Hans Christian Andersen's The Snow Queen. She was born with magical powers, and she is taught to conceal these powers by wearing gloves. This connects to the concealed weapon being carried by Philando Castile. Elsa comes from Elizabeth, which comes from the Hebrew Elishba, meaning God is an oath. The second element is said to be related to Shiva, meaning 7, and to Nishba, he swore. Therefore, Elizabeth originally meant he bound himself by the sacred number 7. Philando's orchestrated shooting occurred on 7/6/16. However, it was broadcast constantly across the nation and to the world by the news media on 7/7/7, connecting it to the sacred number 7. According to Aleister Crowley, 777 represents the spirit incarnated and reincarnation. Crowley wrote the book Liber 777. The title refers to a lightning flash descending the diagrammatic worlds of Kabbalah's Tree of Life, the zigzag pattern suggesting 3 diminishing 7s. This is a reference to Satan, the lightning which fell from heaven, found in Luke 10:18, which in Hebrew is literally Barack Obama. This is interesting since Philando's girlfriend is holding a White Castle cup. The White Castle is a reference to the White House and its inhabitant, the presiding leader of this nation. This is proven by a story from 2009 when actor Kal Penn of Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle went to work as a liaison between the Obama administration and the Asian constituency.
Going from White Castle to the White House, everywhere in between and far beyond, so it's safe to say Kal Penn, quite the busy man these days.
Notice the use of the jaguar, which represents the Antichrist and connects back to the jaguar being killed at the Olympic Games opening, as well as the jaguar found in the Denver mural. Remember, we said Philando's last name is Castile, which means castle. It should be noted that Superman also has a fortress of solitude, a White House or castle of ice. We know that Superman is symbolic of the Antichrist, the false savior of the world. We know also that Obama has conflated himself with Superman.
Contrary to the rumors that you've heard, I was not born in a manger. I was actually born on Krypton and sent here by my father, Jor-El, to save the planet Earth.
These events are orchestrated and manufactured. You cannot believe what you are being told or shown on the television because they are lying to you in order to manipulate you by stirring up strong emotions. When people rely upon emotion instead of logic and reason to make decisions without thinking, they can be easily manipulated and deceived. This is the purpose of these shootings: to manipulate your emotions, to cause an epidemic of riots, anarchy, and chaos across the country so that martial law can be instituted. The untrustworthiness of the propaganda put on display by the news media can clearly be seen in the next orchestrated event which occurred this week in Dallas, where allegedly 12 police officers were wounded and 5 killed by sniper fire at a protest organized after the orchestrated shootings of Philando, Castile and Alton, Sterling.
But we do know what happened is that at least two snipers, from elevated positions as the protest rally march ended, began firing upon our officers, ambush style.
First, we were told that there were 4 snipers involved in this incident. Next, the world was shown pictures of Mark Hughes, one of the organizers of the protests, who was carrying his firearm legally during the protest, just as the Black Panthers did during the 60s.
In 1966, California law allowed civilians to carry loaded weapons as long as they were not concealed, as do many states today. And the newly formed Black Panther Party took advantage of the law.
The California Penal Code Section 12020 through 12027, and also the Second Amendment of the Constitution guarantees the citizen a right to bear arms on public property.
This connects back to Beyoncé's Super Bowl performance, in which she and her dancers dressed in all black, wearing black berets in honor of the Black Panthers. Cam Newton, the quarterback of the Carolina Black Panthers, was also symbolic of Huey P. Newton, the leader of the Black Panthers. It should also be noted that the Black Panthers were defeated by the rider on the white horse, who is a representation of Antichrist.
Number 44. I think Mr. Sanders said I might still be able to be a wide receiver.
Notice that both Alton Sterling and Philando Castile are pictured wearing the same color as the Carolina Panthers. These black men who were murdered for exercising their right to bear arms are subtly being connected to the Black Panthers and armed resistance against police brutality. Cam Newton came to a realization during the Super Bowl when he finally realized that he, in fact, is just a pawn being manipulated in a corrupt game.
She's watching it and she tweets out this: "I've lost all respect. Sorry, this is absolutely rigged for money or ratings. I'm not sure which. I won't be silent. Just saw it live. Sorry."
Today is the best evidence ever that we've seen that our system is absolutely, totally rigged.
A picture was taken of Mark Hughes at the protest holding his gun, and then later police used this picture to identify him as one of the shooters. However, this man is innocent because he had voluntarily given his weapon to a police officer when he found out that a shooting had occurred.
Tonight, at least, Mark Hughes, most likely the most wanted man in America, suspected of being involved in the murders of 4 police officers. His brother, Corey, insisted all along that your brother was not involved. Do you feel vindicated now?
You know, no, I really don't feel vindicated.
This proves that the propaganda disseminated by the media cannot be trusted. Moreover, it must be noted that each man involved in these incidents were carrying a firearm, either concealed or openly, and the police were aware that they were in possession of these weapons before the incidents occurred. This connects back to the decision in California courts which declared the Second Amendment does not guarantee a right to carry concealed guns. Eventually, the shooter in Dallas was identified as Micah Xavier Johnson.
The investigation now zeroing in on that one suspect. We know his name is Micah Johnson, a 25-year-old former Army reservist with military skills and no criminal record, and who we learned there told police negotiators he wanted to kill white people, especially white officers.
Notice the number on the door centered in the picture of Micah. The number 44 represents Obama as the 44th president. 8/4 is Obama's birthday, since he was born August 4th. It should be noted that Micah is the name of a prophet who spoke a prophecy concerning Jerusalem being the birthplace of the coming Messiah in Micah 5:2. The use of the name Micah in this orchestrated event is meant to hail the coming of the false Messiah, the Antichrist, the rider on the horse.
Number 44.
Earlier, we spoke about the character Elsa from the movie Frozen, who was afraid to reveal her power because it would be too much for others to bear. Because of this, she lived in a white castle or ivory tower in isolation from the rest of the world. The term ivory tower has a rather negative meaning today. The implication being that people who are so deeply drawn into their fields of study often can't find a common language in which to convey these complicated ideas to the outsider or to those who do not have specific knowledge in the same field of study. Because of this, the intellectual lives in isolation. This is the reason I take time to break down the meaning of these events so that the intentions of the enemy cannot be concealed, and the Spirit of the living God, which resists the adversary's advances, cannot be asphyxiated, choked back, or suppressed. In Amos 3:15, the Most High declares, "And I will smite the winter house and the summer house, and the houses of ivory shall perish, and the great houses shall have an end, saith the Lord." Listen and take heed to the things that have been presented to you. If you have not as yet, open your heart and mind to the Creator of all things and receive salvation from His only begotten Son, Yahushua HaMashiach. The culmination or climax of these orchestrated events is drawing near. The only thing left to decide is on what side of the Baton Rouge, or marker which draws a line in the sand, will you be standing. Amen. Shalom.